What if I told you the Youjo Senki anime was missing entire wars? That battles were changed, characters erased, and even Tanya's fate altered. I made a video previously about the differences between the novel, manga, and anime, but that was more in general terms of characterization and themes. But in this video, we will see more specific cases. Specifically, they will be differences between the manga and the anime, just because there are not that many differences between the manga and the novel. Now let's dive into the cut content of the anime. Let's start with the people who didn't make it. Some were likely cut for time, others because the anime trimmed down political nuance. But Youjo Senki's source material has a much richer cast. Take Elya, Visha's best friend from cadet school. While Visha was assigned to Tanya's platoon on the Rhine front, Elya claimed to be working as an artillery observer, but later we see that she was actually recruited by the Empire's intelligence service due to her sharp instincts as a secret imperial spy. The latter is just in the manga. In the novel she has the same introduction, but she is not a spy. But in the anime, gone, not even a mention. In the manga and novel, she's a recurring character and Visha's emotional anchor. Without her, Visha's loneliness and her vehemence in going to help the artillery observers in the first chapter of the anime feels sudden and unexplained. I know she doesn't do much, but she is a fan favorite, and honestly, cutting her was a crime. Sergeant Shones, an experienced mage who joins Tanya on the Rhine front, also doesn't make the cut. At the beginning he isn't important, but he has become a recurring character seen in different arcs of the manga. He not been in the anime is no great loss. I think he isn't in the novel either. Then there's Captain Trizel, the colorful commander of the submarine that transports Battalion 203 during Operation Revolving Door. He's a reformed pirate who oddly gets along very well with Tanya. His interactions with Tanya are funny, but his absence doesn't change much. And General Rachel, head of the Empire's northern garrison, is another missing face, featured only in the manga and light novel during the Northern arc. There is also an unnamed nurse that Tanya goes to when she is worried about not growing up. In the novel she is a one-time mention, just for comedic purposes, but in the manga she appears again in the Rhine front when she tells the battalion about their fallen comrade by food poisoning. Yes, that guy in the anime that got a medal for eating rotten potatoes. There is also a female member of Tanya's battalion. She doesn't have an official name. Tanya calls her Shorty and the manga artist calls her Lieutenant Ponytail. She's a recurrent manga exclusive character. Now let's look beyond the Empire. The Legadonia Alliance's Council of 10 is gutted. Only Councilman Kaiser appears in the anime. Meanwhile, Abensal, Foreign Affairs, and Korzer, Culture, are cut despite their key political influence. On the Allied Kingdom side, Prime Minister Cherboul, Chancellor Laluid, and General Habergram are entirely skipped, but perhaps we will see some of them in the second season, you know, when they release the second season. And Lord John, a brilliant spy tied to major intelligence operations, also gone. Now, to be fair, some characters in the novel are just mentioned or one-time appearances that the manga makes into recurring character, expanding the world of Youjo Senki beyond Tanya's limited point of view. But some like General Romel, Officer Taijunin, or even Prime Minister Cherboul are important in a story and deserve to be seen in the anime, not just acknowledged to exist. Look, I get it, anime adaptations have to trim things, but personally, I loved Tanya and Romel's dynamic, the mutual respect, the strategy, the slow trust. I was excited to see him in the movie just for him to be cut entirely. And if you want a video like this but of the differences between the manga and the movie, please give this video a like and subscribe. Now let's continue. The differences don't stop at the cast. Entire scenes were altered, trimmed down, or outright erased. Let's start at the beginning. In the prologue, after dying, the salaryman is taken to a realm beyond reality and meets Being X face to face. In the anime, that's cut. Instead, Being X stops time and speaks through random people. His true form is never shown. Tanya's birth year is different between versions 1914 in the manga, not 1913. During the Type 95 orb tests, the manga and novel show a council of gods and angels that decide to intervene in the world by blessing the orb and manifesting themselves before Dr. Shuggle, an entire divine meeting that's missing in the anime. Later, during the test, one of those gods appears to Tanya and explains how she should use her blessing from now on. In the anime, the god is replaced by Being X. In the first arc of the Rhine front, Tanya meets Lieutenant Schwarzkopf, who explains the situation of the fronts, and we see the introduction of Visha and Corporals Kirst and Harold. In the anime we see none of this, instead we jump directly to the conflict between Tanya and the Corporals. And after Tanya's battle with the Republic mages, her overwhelming power is recorded on an enemy orb, sending shockwaves through the Republican High Command. In the anime, this becomes a watered-down report. The military college application arc. In the anime, it's short. In the manga, it's a full debate where Rirujin, Zetur, and Ruttersdorf argue about Tanya's true nature and potential threat. In the manga and the novel we are told that as part of her higher education, Tanya is taken on a school trip to a hot spring resort where she receives field training in survival in extreme conditions. Something we didn't see in the anime. Something that also happens a lot in the novel and the manga is that there has some kind of interlude or special chapters where we know a group of reporters, especially someone named Andrew, who are researching the truth behind the war, Unit V601 and the 11th Goddess, which is Tanya. Just to add mystery to the story and make you curious about what happened in the future to Tanya and some of the characters who participated in the war, and to give us a glimpse into how they see the war in the future and what it really was like when we return to Tanya's point of view, we can say that this was adapted in the film's prologue, but it was very brief. Where the anime rushes, the manga expands. During the formation of V600, Tanya dreams of her past life. In this vision, Visha is her assistant, and Tanya actually feels a rare moment of warmth. That subtle emotional growth, skipped in the anime. Then there's the avalanche scene. In the anime, Tanya leaves Visha to her fate, cold, but logical. But in the manga, she saves her. Here, we start to see signs of her mental corruption from the Type 95 orb, amnesia, erratic behavior, and even a rosary she doesn't remember owning. In the anime, we saw this very superficially. The girl is surprised that everyone survived and has no memory of what happened in the last month. The manga doesn't just show us Tanya's mind, it dissects it. We even get a monologue revealing her philosophical backbone, the Chicago School of Economics, a rationalist school of thought that applies economic data to all areas of life, hence the calculating and rational personality that accompanied Tanya even in the New World. In the novel we also get this monologue, but in the very beginning of chapter 1. Now let's talk war. During the battle between the mages of the Empire and the Entente, we see how some volunteers from the Allied Kingdom gather information and discover Tanya's presence in Norden. At this point of time Tanya was thought to only be a rumor. In the manga and the novel, the commander of this mission is unnamed, but in the anime, he is played by Colonel Isaac Drake. One of the fans' favorite scenes is Tanya playing with a dog from the Northern Barracks. You'll notice that, unlike the anime and even the light novel, the Tanya in the manga is more human and tends to behave more carefree at times. The Fjord landing starts with a high command meeting, fairly similar across versions. But what's key is the discussion with the North Sea Fleet. In this meeting, they discuss the terms for collaboration in the operation that integrates both the Navy and a unit of marine mages. The gods and angels notice the increase in faith in humanity due to the war and seek an apostle to guide them toward enlightenment. Next, Tanya confrontation with Anson Su. The battle ends up disintegrating part of her uniform, and she is slowly forced to use the orb blessed by being X. But before making that decision, she is assisted by the Navy's marine mages. Another thing you'll notice is that the battles in the manga are far more exaggerated than in the novel or even the anime. Is a change I understand, I mean is epic, but I particularly don't like very much. After that, the North Sea Fleet enters and completes the landing successfully, just like in the anime. Unlike the latter, Colonel Su does not die in combat. Instead, he orders a retreat. In the Allied Kingdom, the Intelligence Department receives a request from the Entente government, requesting a vessel to flee the country and establish a government in exile in the kingdom. The Chancellor of the Entente is transported to the Allied Kingdom, and Anson Su is tasked with escorting him. However, they are intercepted by the Empire, and he again confronts Tanya, this time failing to survive the battle, so the exile plan ultimately fails. However, they manage to transfer the Legedonian army to the Republic. After these events, Mary receives 3 blessings, an explanation of why she is so strong. I don't remember, but I think this is just manga and even anime only, and this doesn't happen in the novel. Let me know in the comments if it does or not. As a result of this incident with the Allied Kingdom submarine, Tanya is court-martialed, from which she emerges unscathed thanks to Zetur, but she still has to serve a punishment. And so at the end of this arc, we have a training exercise between the 203rd Battalion and the Navy's mages. Then we return to the Rhine front. While in the anime we saw that Grants had been part of the battalion since its formation, in the manga and the novel we see that it was only in this arc that he was integrated into the unit along with new recruits, who were trained to serve on the front lines. At the beginning of this arc, we have a detailed explanation of how urban combat could be justified through loopholes in international treaties, preparing us to the Battle of Arene. The battle in the manga is next level. Units run out of ammo and literally start throwing bricks and pillars. Newman even hurls a building beam, but the bombing of Arene becomes a grotesque masterpiece. Every panel bleeds horror, chaos, and moral decay. The anime couldn't match this intensity. We see how Lieutenant Colonel Vianto survives the bombing, being rescued by spies from the Allied kingdom seeking information about the Demon of the Rhine. Finally, there's Operation Sun and Fog, far more grueling in the manga. Grants receives meaningful development, and we discovers that the insane idea to launch mages via rocket propulsion comes from Tanya. The climax diverges significantly too. After launching the attack on the enemy headquarters, the Allied kingdom spies are caught in the crossfire and, barely alive, manage to record the mana of Tanya and her battalion. And is here when we see Elya been a spy. The Allied kingdom parliament is trying to decide what to do when the war is over, but Cherbyl tries to convince them that the war isn't over yet, so he's forced to stage a show of force alongside the navy and a unit of mages. The true threat of the final battle in the anime becomes Colonel Isaac Drake in the manga, a mage so powerful he obliterates Tanya's unit without divine help. Tanya is nearly defeated, her Type 97 orb destroyed, but she unleashes her hidden Type 95, backed by vicious clutch shot. The battle is intense, brutal, and ends with Tanya's prayer-fueled counterattack that terrifies enemy mages into retreat. Because Colonel Isaac lost an arm in his confrontation with Tanya, is relieved by his nephew Drake. Something interesting is that in the novel, this character doesn't participate in this battle and is much younger than his anime version. In an attempt to correct this discrepancy, there are 2 versions of the same character in the anime, and 3 different versions in the manga. If you'd like me to make a video explaining this better, let me know in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe to the video. Afterward, Tanya's team celebrates, but the war isn't over. The Republican army flees to the southern continent. In the anime, after attempting to attack the port of Brest to truly end the war and been refused, Tanya has a meltdown in private. That's different in the manga because after been refused she prepares the battalion intent to carry on the attack, but Elya tells Visha that the consequences for Tanya will be extreme, so Visha and the others convinces her to stop. I think in the novel the request to attack the port is more public, almost begging for it, but at being refused she thinks and carry on but doesn't go through with it. Afterwards, they return to the capital. We have the battalion celebration on the beach, Visha goes to eat and to the movies with Elya, and Tanya in an original chapter of the manga returns to the orphanage, meeting the nun who raised her and who she sees as a mother figure. It is seen that she has some PTSD and continues with her mental crisis, talking in her mind with her old self and even with the original Tanya, who she could have been if she didn't have her memories of her past life. In the end she returns to being herself. She meets up with old friends and that is where she finds Ryujin. Then Tanya has the conversation with Ryujin of episode 12, and the next day she warns General Zetur, who rebukes her for her actions, only to be proven right. And finally, the arc ends with Tanya's legendary speech, where she curses God himself. A mic drop moment the anime downplays, but the manga turns into a finale of divine defiance. The Youjo Senki manga isn't just a retelling, it's a revelation. It gives you context, psychological depth, strategic complexity, and divine horror the anime only hints at. So if you want the full truth behind the Devil of the Rhine, you'll have to read it. This summary, just the tip of the iceberg. Did I miss anything major? Which cut hurt the most? What's your take? Let's argue in the comments. If you enjoyed the video, give it a like, and don't forget to subscribe for more deep dives into anime, manga, and military fantasy. Until next time, glory to the fatherland, and may being X stay out of your orb.